Hello, dear ladies and gentlemen. Today we're going to talk with highly prominent person whose achievements and directions of activities are so much diverse that I couldn't even believe how much to say and just to grasp all the meanings of all the kind of activities and what we will do. So very warm welcome to Sir Fraser Stoddart, 2016 Nobel Prize winner in chemistry. Dear Fraser, thank you very much for this opportunity to have a talk and to disclose some questions for you. Thank you very much.
My pleasure.
Yes. So the first thing to my mind, it's a very unique story. Like you were born in Scotland and you live on the farm. You may see so much experience, different kind of things to do, but now you are in the USA. So this is like a really unique story, I think. But what influenced really your choice on the profession?
Okay, well, let me go back to the farm. I spent my first 25 years on a farm, only about 12 miles, I guess, 18 kilometers south of the capital, Edinburgh.
Mm-hmm.
And this was a very interesting time in agriculture because we went from horses and carts to tractors and trailers to combine harvesters and balers, all in a quarter of a century. And what that taught me was that you had to move with the times, both in terms of embracing new technology and new instrumentation, new machines, and so on. And I look upon that 25 years on the farm as really the university of life, because there was also a lot of animals and things like that. So it was a very broad education. But I think the thing that stood out for me was all this new machinery, and I was really an enforced engineer to begin with. The question about ending up in America, well, there's quite a few things happened before that. I had 3 years in Canada. I had 27 years in total in 2 universities in England before moving to the United States in 1997. And the driver for that was that sadly my late wife contracted breast cancer in 1992. And we had just moved our home from Sheffield to Birmingham, England's second largest city, when I got an invitation from Professor Hauk at UCLA to consider coming to take over from Donald Cram, who had been the 1987 or one of the 1987 Nobel laureates in chemistry.
Okay.
But I just had to write back and say, you know, we have so many problems at a family level, I can't contemplate moving. He extended the invitation, much to my surprise, again in 1994. We still were in a rather big pickle, shall I say, to use a phrase, with my wife fighting cancer. And then again, it was no, but in 1997, the sentiment had changed insofar as my wife realized that she would stand a good chance of getting better treatment for her condition if we moved to the United States. So a lot of it was a family driver in the end. I had always wanted to go to the United States, but my wife had not been so keen until, you know, illness, as it were, changed her mind.
I understand. Well, now we know this reason. Okay. So let's talk about another thing, please. You know, I love the expression like not to have the life which is full of work, but to have the work which is full of life. And Was it your aspiration to become a Nobel laureate, or you just were doing your work? How do you think?
It was never my aspiration to become a Nobel laureate. That was the last thing that was on my mind as a young person. It was just a question of studying, going through my apprenticeship, as I call it, at Edinburgh University when I got my first 2 degrees, and then going to Canada for 3 years at the postdoctoral level. And all of that, was 10 years of apprenticeship before I got an appointment at Sheffield University to the equivalent of an assistant professorship, namely a lectureship in chemistry. But no, I mean, I didn't dream or think about Nobel Prizes. They were not on my radar.
I understand. I think that just the efforts and the achievements are leading the person to this kind of awards and all the kind of successful things that come in the life. Something about the heritage of life, along with lots of awards and statuses and achievements in your life in general. Once you said that the greatest asset and legacy in your life is that you have mentored more than 500 students over 50 countries. I think that only a person who believes in his, let's say, reincarnation in mentorship influence on other people can think this way. So why you really came up with this idea?
Well, I think it's probably ascribable to the fact that I happen to be born in Scotland. And Scotland for centuries has been a very outward-looking nation.
Mm-hmm.
For like Ireland, another country where life for the ordinary citizens is not always super easy, and most countries, and Scotland in particular, value education. And so I had a marvelous, thinking back, I didn't realize at the time, but I had an absolutely outstanding high school education and undergraduate education at Edinburgh University. And so I think that set me on the trail to get my appetite for seeing the rest of the world. So as I say, I jumped to Canada in 1967, and that was the first time I had boarded a jet plane in my life, and at the age of 25. So that was quite an adventure. And, I remained there for the best part of 3 years. It gave me the opportunity to have frequent visits to the United States. And it was then that I started to realize where the leadership, in my opinion, was in science and technology. It was in the United States. And so I started to hanker after moving to the United States. But now, if you go fast forward, I think the leadership in science and technology is on the move from the United States to China. And so, I'm contemplating if I leave the university here at Northwestern, a move to China, because I think that would be a very fulfilling experience. How I will tackle the language for the first time, I'm not sure. I am trying to train myself in everyday Mandarin at the moment, in case I should make that move.
Oh, I see. But your kids, one was in Japan, once you told somewhere, and in England. It's correct.
Yeah, my elder daughter, so she married an Australian. I should mention I've also got links, strong links to the University of New South Wales in Sydney. I have a professorship there in chemistry as well as here in Northwestern. But my daughter married into a very well-known family, as it turns out, in Australia, the McCubbin family. So my son-in-law, his great-grandfather, I hope I get that right, is quite, or was quite a famous painter of portraits and of landscapes and so on and so forth in the 1800s. So I have this strong link through my daughter to Australia. And yes, they live in Belmont, which is a suburb of Boston here in the United States.
Mm.
And they did spend, because my son-in-law is in the pharmaceutical industry, they did spend a couple of years in Kobe in Japan. And of course, I visited them quite frequently while they were there. I've lots of good friends in Japan as well at the scientific level.
Sure, Japan is also. Okay, I see. Thank you very much for sharing this. It's really interesting that all this story and
yeah, I make, if you want to comment about my other daughter, both daughters are PhD chemists, for which I'm very proud. The situation for my younger daughter, Alison, is that she is currently the founding editor of Nature Synthesis. She was driven out of practical chemistry by having allergies that was ascribed to chemical compounds when she was in a laboratory, and so she had to leave that environment and go into publishing. And there she's been very successful. She took a journal called Nature Reviews Materials to being the second most highly cited journal in the world in a 5-year period, and has now stepped down from that job to take on another challenge. So there we are. And in total, I have 4 grandsons, 3 with her, and 1 in Boston, and only one granddaughter living in Boston.
Oh, great. And you see each other quite frequently? Yeah.
Well, of course, this pandemic, just as it got in the way of your movement, didn't make it easy. As it turned out, I was in the UK and with my younger daughter when all the restrictions came in place. So I ended up spending a whole year in Cambridge, England with my younger daughter and her family until March of this year when I moved back to the United States.
Okay.
And of course, during that time, we could use Zoom to keep in contact
of course.
with people, and in particular with a research group of 30 plus people. And I learned that it can be made to work very well.
Yeah, we'll hope for better. All right, Fraser, some things about scientific publications. So our company is often faced with the fact that age index of most scientists is very poor, it's very low. And we see that lots of people are really trying to publish scientific papers and make really lots of efforts. And some other people are like really lazy, and frankly speaking, they are publishing something like a garbage, let's say. So you as a person who has age index like 157 based on Scopus and even more than 170 based on Google Scholar, what can you advise scientists on how to manage and improve their positions and level in the citations?
Well, I mean, I've always aspired after doing the best science that I possibly could. And after a lot of training of myself, I was able to really get on top of the English language, and particularly in the writing side of it. And I have developed that skill as highly as I possibly could. It was as important as the science. In order to be able to communicate through publications what we had achieved in the laboratory, and to a big extent, I felt that I owed this to my students. You know, they had worked extremely hard in almost all cases, and it was my job, because many of them, English was not their first language. It was my job to help them find a route to publishing in, you know, what has become known as the high-profile journals. And
Yeah.
at the moment, you know, 75% of my group are from China. And the dynamic there in their country is that there's no messing around. You have to have a record of publications in high-profile journals if you want to, you know, aspire to being an academic yourself. If you want to get a job in a university of any stature in China, then you will be judged on your publication record. You know, whether you agree with this or not, this is a fact of life. And so,
Yeah, I understand.
my present postdocs are, you know, not interested in publishing in this low profile type of journal that you've referred to in a sort of where you might put rubbish. They're not interested in that. They're only interested in doing as good science as they're possibly able to do, and then they're on my doorstep saying, "You think we can send this to Nature or Science or, you know, some of these big journals?" Yeah.
Yeah, I understand. I think it's really better in life to practice the successful things and to choose high-profile journals initially, because then when you got some low-profile publications or some predatory journals, like, you know, then the scientific profile of a person is quite not understandable at all. And just to publish for like to sign some papers like you needed for the establishment for institution, it's not a right way. But unfortunately, in some, well, Russian-speaking countries, there is a evidence and practice, like someone just trying to publish nothing just to make like a paper, you know, for checking it on the work, like that. Okay, but how do you think the publication process, when it was initially at the beginning of your career, was it easier or harder? And how do you see the change of this process, like now and that days?
I really don't see a very big change. It's remained under the peer review system that continues, although it has been changed a little bit. And but otherwise, you know, it was quite tough to put an article together, a manuscript, I should call it, and send it to a journal editor and wait for weeks while the reviewers pass comments. And it's a fairly rough ride, because a lot of the time you get surprises. You think this is a good piece of work, and then it is torn apart by the reviewers, the referees, and you have to then take their advice. And if the editor is in the mode of wanting to read your response and to look at your revised manuscript, then you just have to work hard to lift the particular manuscript to the level that will convince the referees that it could be accepted, or they could recommend its acceptance. And that was the same for me in the 1970s as it is today. We're still, and in fact, with the high-profile journals, we have very, very long reviewers' comments, and it takes us maybe 2 weeks to plow through all of their comments, do some extra experiments. I mean, I'm thinking of ongoing activities at the moment in the laboratory before we go back to the editor And it's very important to do a very, very good job at that stage. And you have to be very, very highly professional and answer all the questions as best you can, and do the extra experiments that you're invited to do. And the chances are a good 90% chance that if you do that well, you will get your paper accepted. Yeah, it's the same dynamic as when I was 25 as it is now when I'm almost 80. Hasn't changed all that much.
Okay, I understand. Thank you so much. I've got a little question about the gold. Almost all gold mining companies worldwide use this toxic gold leaching process to sequester the precious metal by using cyanide. You have replaced harmful reagents with a cheap and biologically friendly components using derived from the starch, and called it cyclodextrin. How did you come to this discovery, and what was the reason to be engaged in such kind of activities for you? Can you share, please?
Well, I always had a strong interest in carbohydrate chemistry, because that was the subject for my PhD. In more detail, I studied the structure of plant gums for my PhD, believe it or not. These are polysaccharides that are highly charged, so-called polyelectrolytes. Anyway, I decided in the 1970s that I wasn't going to remain a so-called carbohydrate chemist for my life, but there was one form of carbohydrate that I always had a great fascination for, and that is the cyclodextrins, of which there are 3 that are commercially available, alpha, beta, and gamma, with 6, 7, and 8 glucose residues respectively.
Okay.
So fast forward in 2010, in a situation here at Northwestern where I've been able to give my research group great freedom in what they do. One of my postdoctoral researchers at that stage decided that he would like to make a topological construct known as the boramine rings. Mm-hmm. So you need to have 3 rings, and the requirement is once you've put the 3 rings together, if you cut any one ring, the other 2 will fall apart. That's the boramine topology. And he chose gamma cyclodextrin, the one with 8 sugar units, as his first ring. And he was trying to find out how you could feed into this ring another ring. And so he was using an organic compound, azobenzene dicarboxylate, as its potassium salt. Okay. And he got crystals, and they were big cubic crystals, not only millimeters, but if you waited long enough, they would be centimeter cubes. Very beautiful. And when the crystal structure was solved, this organic component that he was hoping would be the second ring was not to be seen. It was clearly removed from the scene. And it was the potassium that had linked together cyclodextrins in a cubic array. So 6 cyclodextrins were linked together to make a cube, and then potassium linked these small cubes ad infinitum into these big crystals. And so we called this cyclodextrin metal organic framework, okay, because it was an extended structure. So that's where we were in the early part of the last decade, between 2010 and 2013. And this technology, incidentally, went on to become a skincare company, which is highly successful. But in 2013, again, under this sort of freewheeling situation where my postdocs and graduate students are left to come up with their own ideas. Another one from China decided one day, oh, let me just interject that I had been going around the world saying, what accompanies the potassium ion, which is positively charged at anions, and it could be any anion that one could think of. It could be fluoride, chloride, bromide, iodide, acetate, trifluoroacetate, blah, blah, blah. We would still get the cesium off. And this postdoc just turned things on its head, because one day he used potassium tetrabromoorate. So that's an anion where you have gold in the middle and you have 4 bromines around it. And he gets a completely different type of crystal structure in a very short period of time. It precipitates out this material from water in literally minutes. And if you do it more slowly, you get this crystal, which are now needles. And these long channels contain the potassium, of course, present this time as a ion that is surrounded by 6 water molecules.
Yeah. Okay.
And the tetrabromoorate are alternating throughout the middle of this whole stack of donuts. And so we have a new way of isolating gold suddenly. So serendipity in many ways is the reason, and it's because of double serendipity. First of all, in 2010, and then a repeat in 2013. And, you know, I can't emphasize how much I think serendipity plays a very important role in science. And in order for that to happen, you have to have an environment where there's a huge amount of freedom being given to the experimentalist.
Wow. That's really great, I think, and really promising for future as well.
I mean, if you want to know very quickly about the present state of the company called Cyclodex,
Sure. Yeah, please.
it is doing extremely well in mines in Arizona here in the United States. And the CEO is, after the pandemic, making great progress in mines where even cyanide would not work. And so they were closed down and were really ready to be approached, these mine owners, by someone that had another technology. The last comment I'll make is that in general, it has not been easy to introduce this technology to the gold mining community. We found it to be very conservative. I was told in mining places that I visited to talk about the new way of isolating gold to go away. They had used cyanide for over a century and they wouldn't be changing.
Yeah, large companies are very hard to be convinced to make changes.
Very, very hard to be convinced. But I think one thing that is helping is that some years ago, the European Union put out a directive that any country in the European community that was establishing a new mine for gold could not use cyanide and had to look for another approach.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's good. We'll hope that it will expand worldwide and we will have only biologically and ecologically friendly processes in this industry. All right. Please, can you say what can you now advise to the youngest luminaries of science in general?
Well, first of all, you have got to be very curious about the world around you. And you've got to have no end of passion about going forward with whatever science you decide you're going to concentrate on. If it's chemistry, then as I say, in my case, I had to undergo a decade as an apprentice, and then even after that, it took another 20 years as an academic in two institutions in England, namely Sheffield and Birmingham,
Okay.
to get us to the point where we made a big enough breakthrough to pursue the making of the mechanical bond, which is what I consider to be one of my biggest contributions to the chemical community. But that's just the beginning of a story, because it then led to molecular shuttles, molecular switches, and ultimately to molecular machines.
Yeah.
So it's not an easy path, and it's not in any way linear. It's not something that you can say to people, you know, do this and it'll all work out for you. In my case, this has been about 20 different types of chemistry during my long period of over 50 years. And, you know, it's always wise to dabble in more than one area at any one time. And we still do that. So molecular machines is only part of the effort in my own research lab at the moment. We do many other things on top of that, because it's driven by the students. That's the important thing.
Yeah.
But to answer your question, it's all a matter of just a burning desire to achieve within the subject, and to be prepared to, if you want to single yourself out as making a unique contribution to the science, say chemistry, then you've got to take up something that has not found a solution, has the chance, if you work hard at it and you have a bit of luck, to find that solution. And you've got to avoid jumping onto bandwagons that are very popular and think that you will make a major contribution that way. In that instance, the bandwagon was probably started by somebody else, and they will always get the credit for having started that area of chemistry or science.
All right. Thank you very much, Fraser. And also, can you share, please, 3 books that which you may consider most influential in your life?
Wow.
Just the first thing that you may recall, please share.
3 books. Well, I guess
Maybe
I was much influenced by Scottish authors when I was studying English at school. So
I understand.
Robert Louis Stevenson's Treasure Island, I would say, was
Oh yeah, I understand.
a fairly important book when I was, you know, very young.
Yeah.
And then the 39 Steps by John Buchan, another Scottish author, as later on had, you know, some fascination and interest for me.
Okay.
Thereafter, that is less easy to come up with at the moment. You know, I read a lot, but just singling out one that has made a big impact is not so easy.
Yes, you know, it's well, you think just it's very curious to learn different people, like what kind of books really may influence on their life. That's why
Yeah, well,
I like to ask this kind of question.
I've been thinking while you've been talking, and the crop of books by Gladwell have been quite influential to me.
Yeah,
You know the ones I'm talking about? Malcolm Gladwell.
I know the author, but I don't remember his stories. So it's Gladwell. Okay. the third one is him.
Put all of his books together, most of which I've read.
Yeah, I understand.
Yep.
I know well the Treasure Island, so it's really good book for young people to start and to read it. So, dear Fraser, thank you very much for this talk. I've got everything that I wish to learn from myself, from our community, and we are really grateful for that. I want to wish you for the next of your days that every next day would be the best days that you have in your life, and the days would be even better.
Well, you've been very kind, Alex, and I wish you all the best with your family and your newly born, I think, baby, and enjoy your family life and do what you enjoy doing.
I'm trying my best in enjoying family life and paying attention to them, not only into activities which we have in science.
Good.
So, thank you very much.
Pleasure.
I really appreciate this. Thank you, Fraser.
Okay.
Have a great day and
And you too. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.